first thought about how I can use, develop and challenge forms and conventions in my own work when it came to researching and planning the trailer that I was going to make. After conducting a lot of research into existing trailers that were similar to my own, I thought that it would be a good idea to both use the conventions that I was seeing, developing them in my own way, also challenging these conventions, especially when it came to changing the relationship between the two characters. This was important to me so that I could get a strong sense of the fact that they are unlikely friends across, which is why this was the title of the film. I mainly chose to develop the conventions that I was seeing in films such as The Untouchables and The Blind Side, so that I could make my trailer unique but still conform to existing media that is out there. It's fair to say that the majority of drama films are mainly based around a realistic scenario, which is why creating a sense of verisimilitude in my own drama trailer was highly important to me, in order to relate to a wide variety of people. I decided that I was obviously going to use conventions of drama films so that I could appeal to my target audience and appeal to the large majority of people that like watching drama films. Such conventions involve including realistic relationships, which is very important when trying to engage an audience. This is something that I both decided to use and develop so that I could appeal to a wider audience. I used this convention in the sense that I made up a realistic scenario of a young boy who feels isolated both at home and outside of the home. Alongside the young boy, the old lady is also very isolated and has no one around her, which creates a connection between these two characters that the audience can relate to. This is creating the idea of verisimilitude that a lot of people like to see, especially when they are watching drama trailers and films, as it makes them feel more involved in the storyline. Storyline is something else that I wanted to use in my own trailer as a convention of drama films is the dramatic course that they take. This is important to me because without a dramatic storyline that the audience can follow, they wouldn't be very interested in what is going on. I developed this idea by positioning the disequilibrium from the film at the beginning of my trailer and also halfway through to highlight what is going on and to make sure the audience know that it is an important part. In this way, I challenged the stereotypical view that a drama trailer would take, starting off happy and cheery, and I thought that the outcome was really unique. I mainly chose to use the conventions of drama films when it came to the ancillary tasks, as I thought that there were a lot more stereotypical conventions I could use and also develop in my own way. In the creation of the poster, I did this through using an existing poster that I had been looking at a lot. I took many conventions from the film poster The Untouchables, as I thought this was a very relatable film. I used conventions such as the composition of the main photograph and the text and positioning of all of the writing. I chose a different colour scheme to develop the emotion that is felt throughout my own trailer. In regards to the magazine, I took conventions from magazines such as Empire and Total Film, as research would suggest that they are the two most popular film magazines out there. Much like Empire, I decided to use a red and black colour scheme with a few of the colours from my own production, which is somewhat of a beige, very natural colour to replicate the characters' personalities in the film. This was important so that people would gain a better understanding of the type of film that it would be, rather than having to read up about it. I developed the stereotypical idea of Empire by adding a simple film strip at the bottom of the page, including shots from the film, rather than other films, as I wanted it to be the main focus on the front cover. This made the magazine cover look unique and a lot more intriguing to look at. I challenged forms of conventions in many ways. Firstly, in my trailer I chose to use very unlikely characters of a young boy and an old lady, which is something that you wouldn't usually see when watching a film. You would certainly not see the two as being good friends, which is a relationship convention that I chose to challenge. I wanted to get the idea across that any two people can be connected by similar lives and that it can happen to anyone, which is something that I believe I got across in a very simple and believable way, still challenging the character conventions of drama films. This makes my film stand out amongst others as it gives it its own personality, which is another thing that I wanted to achieve. Despite challenging this convention, I was still conforming in the sense that it draws the audience away from what they think is going to happen, which seemed to be a very stereotypical convention of drama films. Despite the conforming of areas of my drama trailer, I'm still challenging people's views on the type of relationships that we can have, which is a stereotype that I wanted to break. In regards to my ancillary tasks, I think that I generally conform with the conventions that I've seen from conducting research into both film posters and magazine covers, as I thought it would be an area that should have some consistency so that the audience feels comfortable with what they are looking at. I challenged the conventions of posters somewhat by jumbling up the layout slightly, having some of the information at the top of the page to stand out, which is something that I rarely see in drama posters. I also use very natural colours, which challenges the colour scheme conventions of posters, as they are usually designed to stand out. I decided to create my poster using this colour scheme because I didn't want to take all of the attention away from the main image and the information such as the title of the film and the information at the top of the poster. In regards to the magazine cover, I decided to keep the majority of it very conventional, as I didn't want people to feel uneasy when they were looking at it. I challenged some conventions in regards to the amount of cover lines that were on the page. I limited the amount of information that was actually on the page so that the audience would be more drawn into the main image, rather than wonder what is going on around it. I did this because I wanted the audience to be mainly captured by the theme behind my film, and also so they will be more inclined to wonder about the background of the characters and the storyline of the film itself. I think that it is fair to say that I used, developed and challenged various forms of convention to a significant extent in order to create a suitably professional media product that appeals to the majority of drama film watchers and hits my target audience of 16 to 24-year-old females.